2nd, actually. Today is Wednesday, February 14th. It is actually Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Mr. Akamaru.
Happy Valentine's Day, Mr. Zero.
Thank you for doing this podcast with me today.
Oh, there's no one else there's no one else I'd rather lose to. I mean, I'm kidding. There's no one else I'd rather talk to in my Valentine's Day than you, my fellowship companion.
Recording another episode of Shadowcast, as usual. There's nothing else I could imagine doing my Valentine's Day, or spending to do with my Valentine's
Yeah,
Day.
at this point, we pretty much it's probably public that everyone knows that we love Shadowverse. So, what better way to show our love for Shadowverse than talking about Shadowverse on the Valentine's Day with this beautiful? Let me really shout out to the beautiful, magnificent art. Unfortunately, I don't know who drew Venus, but it was my favorite art by far from SFL. She's so gorgeous.
Venus, I thought, was just a very accurate card art to use for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, she could be my Valentine's. After you, of course. After you.
Jeez. All right, so we got a good amount to talk about this week. Not an insane amount. This isn't the busiest week we've had in
We
Shadowverse.
expected it to be more enthusiastic on the discussion topics, but it's fine.
So I'm sure, as you guys know, especially if you were listening last week, you'll know that there were supposed to be nerfs this week, and yesterday it was just announced that there are none.
Yeah, we were so excited last week. We were talking about expected nerfs. We were like Daria, Oz. We were even Magical. Like just nerf something, side games, please. And well, they didn't think it was necessary. Apparently, there's a lot of 51% win rate decks, and there's a lot of 8% usage rate decks. So I guess it's fine. We thought it was and balanced, but apparently Lather says otherwise.
Yeah, Papa Sci Games holding their hands, telling us everything's gonna be okay.
It did feel like that because they were like, "We don't want to tell you how to win our game," which was kind of funny. It made how do I say this? If not forced, but it made some people react on Twitter, and people like Ignideos, Igni,
Mhm.
he was saying that he's not confident. He was nervous about that comment from Psy Games because he does videos that literally teach people how to win the game. So it was like, our video is gonna be censored for some reason, or changed, or they will tell us a differency on policy. But I'm like, I don't think it was what they meant. Actually, am on their side. I think that
Mhm.
our job is to break the meta. Their job is to fix the meta. I don't want them to tell me what's broken. So I like that. I like that comment.
I do find it interesting because I do know that a lot of people were asking for a whole lot of different nerfs, and they just never. I think there are a lot of surprised people this time around.
Yeah, every Discord was reacting to it. I think that they reacted more to no nerfs than to actually having nerfs, which is interesting. Like I was saying, someone was like, we were surprised. There was no surprise this weekend. I'm disappointed, and I was like, maybe the surprise is no nerfs.
Yeah, and it turns out that that's what it was. Um,
Oh, there we go. I think you're back now. Nice.
okay, perfect, perfect. So, what do you think this says since there's no nerfs? What do you think that means?
We talked about this the end of January with the nerfs published. I was kind of nervous that we would have nerfs 14 days after a patch change. And I was expecting them to correct some mistakes, but apparently they didn't make mistakes because it's 50% right? All the decks are around 50%, And I agree, like, if I was a designer and I saw my game was 50%, I would probably not change it. But, however, uh, I believe at this point, since Shadowverse is getting very big in the competitive side, they should start talking to the competitive scene. Just because the game works very differently when you talk tournaments and competitive. When you see stats like NGE Dragon had 80 something percent with ban rate, that tells a lot about a class.
Yeah, even though it's got like a 50% win rate, there's still something going on about it that it's warping something to some extent.
Yeah, because the nature of ladder is you don't know your mulligans, right? You don't know what you're playing. I could be Dragon, I can play against Aven, and I'm like, oh, they are playing Aegis maybe, so I can be greedy, I can keep my fervor. But then if they're neutral even, like, I just get destroyed, and then my win rate of Dragon just gets reduced. We have to realize that some matchups are very polarized, and in tournaments, you can polarize them even more with tech cards and band
Hmm.
strategies. So I don't think using ladder specifically is the only way they should approach nerfs.
But I guess this doesn't mean just because we're not getting nerfs today, this doesn't mean that there won't be any nerfs at all this month, or does that mean that there's no nerfs this
The next
end of the month?
patch change I think is 20. No, yeah, it's the end of March, which is a lot. I said this before. It's almost 2 months without changes.
I find that very strange. I wonder if that's something that they're going to stick with, that Cygame's
Yeah,
going to stick with.
I actually I like to see them publicly announce why they changed the cycle of changes. Why 15 February? They didn't mention that they were making changes based on tournaments and events, but I think it was because of Rage. Probably because of Rage.
It confuses me more that it was the 15th of February and then they decided to not change anything.
I think they this was a cushion, right? They were like, we're gonna make changes on at the end of the month, and since Rage is coming, we will make changes at the top 8 stage, I think, or at the final stage. If we see something ridiculous happening on Rage, we can change then, and it won't be a surprise. People will expect it just because it was announced.
Yeah.
They also did mention that just because it's announced on the end of March does not mean that they cannot change before that. If they feel the need to change and it's an emergency, they will change uh, with announcing like the day before.
So maybe we will see some changes. I find this whole situation just a little curious. Um, I actually don't, I'm not too upset that they didn't change anything. Um, because if you look at like all of the different things that they could have changed, there were there were so many different things that could have been considered an issue, and I don't think any of the specific changes would have exactly fixed what the problem was, because it's hard to say what exactly the problem is.
Yeah, I also wonder if the fact that the Shadowverse Open is now called Shadowverse Open, does that affect their nerf cycle? Uh, because the nerfs would happen today, right? So we would have literally 1 day to test ideas before submitting to the weekend. Because you guys have to submit on Friday, right?
Yeah, that would have been difficult.
Yeah. So maybe they thought about it and they were like, since it's 50% win rate, 51 at least, maybe we don't need to change and they don't get blown out in Western competition.
Maybe. I don't quite know what's going on with it.
But again,
Um,
we are guessing. I'd like them to
mhm.
just talk with us, just be open about it, and just tell us why change the cycle, uh because they're explaining a lot when they publicly announce nerfs. They explain why. They show the numbers, and I appreciate that. I actually like that a lot. And I had the opportunity to tell them in Japan that I'm so glad you guys are so open with your player base and that you listen to us. But
Mhm.
again, I have to go against them in this situation because it it it, it was weird to make it at the middle of the month, especially when there's so much thing on when so much thing is on the line. Like we're getting to the last weekends of the NG or Shadowverse Open, and
Hmm.
I mean it's literally like the last chance we have to make it, and making a big change could be a big factor.
Well, it gives people, it makes people think on their feet for one of the weeks as well. Because you have to be prepared for what happens if things change, what happens if things don't change.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's kind of hard to prepare
yeah,
for all the different
we had that
scenarios.
impact with us, right? HSK, we were like, if this happens, we go there. We have this idea. If this doesn't happen, we have this idea. We have this lineup. We have these decks. It was kind of crazy. Now it's just more stable and more comfortable, and there's a lot of peacefulness, I guess. So I'm
So
with you. I think I'm glad nothing changed. At the same time, though, I wish Oz changed. That's my only thing. But it didn't. They didn't have to change it now. They could have changed it way back then, but they don't. They didn't.
yeah, the cards have lasted quite a while, and it's kind of hard to expect them to change like so much longer after they've been printed. But it's still possible. Who knows what's going to happen? But what I can say is going to happen is NGE is going to be this weekend, like it is every weekend. This weekend it's going to be back to rotation format. We're in the last 2 weeks now of uh the open part of NGE. So are you excited to play some rotation,
Yes,
Aka?
I'm the closer it gets to the last chance, the more excited I am. I just want to play. I wish it was today. I wish I was playing right now for Shadowverse Open. I mean, there's just something that wakes up inside of me because at the first weeks I'm like complacent. I'm like, I have another shot. It's fine. I went 0-2. It's okay. I can still win a qualifier. Well, now there's two qualifiers, and I've done some math, and I believe I need to get first place in one of the weeks. I thought it was gonna be this week, but Mr. Zero Fine, I see him on chat. Mr. Zero Fine crushed my dreams, and it was unfortunate, but it has to be this week then. Let's do this. I believe we had broken the format. I really thought HSK, and we had proof by Mr. Cheji. I was very confident. I thought I was gonna make a top 2 or 3, and I have very unfortunate draws, but I think we had a really strong take on the meta of that weekend. We got good in unlimited, and we got results. Pancake won is MSL. Sorry, that was rotation. He won one tournament before that, and Teji won Monkey of the Week. That was unlimited. Angry won Zotac as well. Teji got second place on the Shadowverse Open, and I made it to a 12th place, which is not bad too. But it could have been better. But I lost to someone that got top 2. I don't know if he won. Do you know if he? Because I didn't get to see the finals. So
Who was it?
for Europe, it was Zero Fine against Shadow Shadet. I don't know if
Um,
Zero Fine won. Oh,
Zero finds in the chat,
yeah,
so
he
he'll
can
probably
answer me
let us know.
eventually. So yeah, that's. I think Unlimited was very fun. Did you get surprised during the weekend?
Um, Surprised? I don't think I saw anything really that surprised me. Like I didn't run into like a PTP portal or anything like that.
Yeah. Actually, did
Um,
you see any portal?
I didn't see any
I
portal. No.
I am very surprised to like I go to the stats and I see like 12 portal games. I'm like, wait, what? Did I just play a different tournament? Because when, where did people get to play portal? It's just weird to me because I never see portal. Not on stream, not against me, not against HSK players because they sometimes tell us. And like, where is the portal? Where are the portal
I,
stats?
there's
Come on, Joe.
definitely just a group of just diehard portal mains, and all they do is they just play portal.
Yeah, level 200 portal week 1.
A friend of mine plays a whole lot of portal, and he like keeps telling me like, "Hey man, you got to play this bear puppet to your deck I've got." I'm like, I can't do it, man.
So I have experienced this season. I have experienced a fun event. Is that if you lose the round one, you face very interesting decks. I faced a Highlander Shadow deck, and I faced there was a week I faced three Highlander decks, Sword, Even, and I had to play against some cards that I'm not used to play against, and it was definitely fun. And it was someone that was not very experienced, probably doesn't have a strong collection, but he was like, "I'm so happy I play against Akamaru Red. If I'm getting get out, I'm glad it was against you." I'm like, "Oh, so nice. I want to see you again then."
That's a gracious in defeat.
Anyways,
So
rotation. Go ahead.
yeah, so what do you think people are going to be playing this weekend? I feel like there's still a bug going around. I think people still are enjoying Dragon quite a bit, and I would expect to see that to some extent.
The last weekend we had a rotation. It was Ban the Portal Fiesta. I'm sorry, Ban the Dragon Fiesta. So I expect it to continue. Not sure if I've been away from rotation. I'm playing it a little bit now and then, and I have seen basically the same thing I used to see. A lot less Daria though. I expected more Daria and ladder, but then again, I'm at like 1,000 points. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's why, but I see a lot of Dragon. I see Aven. I see Shadow. I see Blood. A lot of Blood, even Control Blood. But I don't see Daria. I see Dirt Rune. Not sure if the people will play Daria since it wasn't nerfed. I expect some people to play Dirt Rune or Daria. Rune Craft is an interesting class to take.
I I've been seeing quite a bit of Rune. I've been seeing quite a bit of Forest on my time on ladder. I don't know if you're getting the same kind of thoughts.
Yeah, for I see Forest. Most decks I see is Blood and Forest. Those are the most popular ones I play against.
Zero Fine is saying I'm seeing neutral forest getting some popularity. Any thoughts on this? I've I've seen like some neutral elephant decks that I don't know fully how they build it because you got to squish a lot of cards into that deck. But I feel like the ones that work are really cool because you get the really strong neutral package. You have your Hectors and you have like a Sahak wheel top end, and then you still have your OTK finish.
Yeah, 5 weeks ago, that was
Hmm.
long time ago. I lost to neutral Forest with Elephant. I lost to Elephant because he played the Wolf. And I'm like, wait, what? You just played Hector and then Wolf? What's going on? And that man apparently was ahead of his time because I see a rise in popularity. Japanese. Someone feed me the information that Japanese players are playing a lot of neutral forest. Although I've watched the rage on Twitter and I don't see deck lists there. I'm not sure if it's the top eight or the finalists, but I don't see neutral forest there. So I don't know a lot about neutral forest with elephant because I haven't played that version. I know Zero tested it a bit more than I did, of course, because I played Zero games. I'm mostly playing the standard control forest that I played like for the last 2 weekends on Shadowverse Open.
I've seen what's it called? I've seen neutral elephant in Haven, not in Haven, in Rage. I think it was
Oh,
like 3 weeks ago that I
oh.
saw it, and I remember it winning its game, but I don't. And I remember after that, I was like trying to think of how, like trying to backwards engineer the deck because from just what I saw from the deck, and I couldn't figure it out fully. But he was playing Shining Bellringer Angel.
I think I saw that post. Uh, the fun thing about building a deck like that is that fine tuning it is a lot more powerful than actually creating the idea. Because that when you create a deck like that, you split your cards in half, right? You have the neutral synergies and the forest synergies. So you're like, I don't know how many cards I have, but fine tuning it is very fun. How many forest cards should I play? How many neutral cards should I play? Should I focus more on the Ector activation? Should I go for the Saha package? Should I go more controlling, more aggressive, mermens or goblins or goblin leaders? All that fun stuff. Should I play Beauty and the Beast? Some people were saying that they don't like playing Beauty and the Beast. That's why they don't play Neutral Forest because the payoff is Beauty and the Beast, and they don't like to play it.
Yeah, and some people, and then another question becomes, do you want to play Ariete? Because Ariette's a card that works well with Beauty and the Beast and with
Elephant.
Elephant, but it's such an awkward like top heavy card.
Yeah.
If you're playing that with Sahak wheels, can you really reasonably do both? And it's interesting how you fit everything into that
And
deck.
with wolves, can you realistically have wolves, elephants, and jungle wardens? Some people were talking about it too. Can you realistically have Ector activated with jungle wardens, wolves, and elephants? And I assume you still play brambles, but I don't, maybe not. They're probably not. I don't know.
My guess is they don't find space for
Yeah, cause
Brambles.
of the two drops. Yeah. Do you play removal? Cassie? No, probably no Cassie. Oh, Aaron. Yeah. Do you play Aaron or not? Because that's a very strong card.
Yeah, I had a list, and I was playing like a good amount of two ofs. Like, I think it was like two of the Arians, two of the Beauty and the Beasts. Just like this card seems pretty good. This card seems pretty good, and just slap a whole bunch of them in there and hope for the best.
Sometimes a deck just becomes really strong when you play the good stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I I find it hard to not want to like slap a whole lot of two drops or a lot of two ofs in the deck because I'm just like, oh, I want some of these, and I could always see myself in a spot where I want some of these.
My strongest performances in tournaments is when my deck is has a lot of two offs. uh, because it's just I've listened to some other people agreeing with that is that you have a lot more options when you go two offs, right? Because for instance, I've done two Bone Chimeras and two Attendant of Knights in my mid shadow for the World Grand Prix, and it was really good because you have the option of having Bone Chimera against the more aggressive matchups, the aggro bloods, the aggro forests, and then you have the attendant knights for the dragons and for the avens, which is fun if you are able to suicide it or favorably get some effects, some necro assassins going on. But yeah, so having the option, having like two soul squashers, two Ceres, uh, two necro assassins, just gives you the flexibility of having different game plans against different. It's kind of like having a mini sideboard on your deck, right? You have the sideboard
Mhm.
options. You can just mulligan them away or not play them. Just have them in your hand.
I find that kind of interesting because I feel like Shadowverse is one of the few card games where, at least from what I've seen from how I played, I feel like your decks get now this isn't true for all decks, but I feel like some decks get stronger the more options they have access to rather than the more consistently they get those options.
Yeah, I believe that is a consequence of being able to play three off legendaries. Legendaries are these powerful bombs, and Shadowverse is a game that allows you to play three of those. And kind of like Magic, you consistently see the powerful bombs. In Hearthstone, you don't get that effect, so people have to increase card draw mechanics, or they have to increase the raw value of each card. And in Shadowverse, you can play a lot of text, and you don't necessarily see a decrease in consistency just because you have three offs, powerful cards.
So we got a little bit off topic of about the decks that we think we might see this weekend. We had talked for a little bit about forest and neutral forest and such. What do you think about Shadow? I feel like Shadow is definitely a deck that is pretty powerful in rotation.
Mid Shadow is always fun. At the beginning of each meta, it's probably one of the most popular decks, just because it's a powerhouse. It's very consistent at what it does. The game plan it just plays for itself, and but then you see a decrease on its value just because the control decks come in and they're like, we need to prepare for Shadow, so we have all this stack against Shadow, we have all the Cassiopeias, all the Pure Annihilations, all the Priest of the Cudgels, and then Shadow loses popularity. But then the aggro meta gets established and Shadow just increases in popularity again, and Dragon and Forest are good targets. When Forest plays a lot against Dragon, they have to decrease the amount of AoE removals, so on. So you get the cycle of the meta, but Shadow is in an interesting place. I have yet to figure out if I'm going to play it or not. I it's the deck I'm laddering the most with, just because it's the deck that requires more practice, and the tech cards are very important in that deck. I have not established the 40 card list yet, but I think it's very powerful. If you have two decks that you are confident in, and you are absolutely gonna play those two decks, adding Shadow as the third deck is never a wrong choice.
I find Shadow kind of interesting going into this weekend because I feel like there are two ways to build it. There's the regular like generic mid shadow with your with some amount of Thanes usually, some amount of just good mid-rangey cards and your Ektars and
And I
such.
show yeah.
And then there's the Sow Death Reap Life deck. And that's one that whenever I play against it on ladder, I'm just like, wow, that was strong when they play their double Zeus. But then the times I played it, it doesn't always
Yeah,
feel super consistent.
exactly.
So I'm curious if there's somebody who's got like this is the best reanimate shadow list and this is gonna do really well this weekend.
Yeah, I don't expect it to win. Because in Unlimited we had access to every single card, and I believe that Reanimate becomes stronger in Unlimited because you have access to Atomy cards like Atomy, Karidwan. So I don't think that in rotation that deck would be stronger than Unlimited. And in Unlimited, we had some players really playing that deck and was very strong, and it still didn't perform. It didn't get them top finishers. So I don't think every time I played against it on Shadowverse Open, I was very confident because you can play. It takes so long for them to play all the Zeuses. You take like 5 or 6 turns to win the game, and if I have an elephant or if I have a Bahamut, I have you can have 5 or 6 Zeuses, but I'm dragon. I'll have 3 Zeuses or 2 Zeuses. I have 3 Bahamuts. You don't have Bahamuts, so I'm not scared when I play against that deck.
I think reanimating Zeus is much stronger in rotation than it is in unlimited though.
Well, why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just the stronger card. I think there's less ways to remove something like that. There's still your Scythers and your Momos and stuff like that, but you don't really like see. I don't know. I just don't think the types of cards that remove Zeus are as common. But
It's also hand size. You don't have a lot. I play that deck a lot. You don't like so death Reap Life is I believe that's the name. That card is very conditional. Like it's not flexible at all. You cannot cycle it. You cannot like cast it until like turn 10 because you want to kill your Zeus first. Getting your necromancers on your Zeus is not happening a lot of times. Like the dragon caller, uh
Mhm.
I made the mistake of playing Cowie and then dragon caller, and then I sow death reap life and didn't get the Cowie because I forgot that 8 play point
Yeah,
card is an 8 play
it
point. Yeah.
it grabs the Dragon Caller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like, but at that point I'm like, wait, but if I can't do that, then it's so awkward, right?
I think the Dragon Caller isn't a great card in that deck. It's pretty good, but I feel like it's the So Death Reap Life that's like the really good card when it comes to just powering out
Yeah,
your
I
Zeus.
could see a shadow deck uh play like a Nephthys style, like a control shadow with top end Zeus. I'm actually a big fan of playing control decks with 3 Zeuses. My control bloods have 3 Zeuses, just because they're so good at establishing two things that a control deck does. First, well, obviously for most players, they realize that it's a win condition. That's duh, yeah, Storm. But actually, something that it really that I really value, and that's why I played 3. I started with playing 1, but is that at the end, at the late game, it retains initiative. So a control deck, most of the times you lose initiative, you lose the tempo or the board control early on. But when you play Zeus and force your opponent to use play points on it or use cards on it, you gain the initiative back. You can play your Israfils or you can play your spawns. I've seen that done to me. The guy played Zeus, so I had to use the Necro Assassin or the Lurching Corpse, something to deal with it, and then he played a spawn, and I had like 2 attack on the board. I can finish the game. anyone. So like Zeus is a lot stronger than just a beatdown card.
Yeah, it's like it's not ward isn't exactly heal, but like it's pseudo 10 HP when you play it until they can remove it. Um,
It's
it comes down,
infinite,
it kills whatever.
infinite attack on the trade.
Yeah, it's just pretty
It
strong.
kills Albert, by the way. Like playing against Sword, slamming a Zeus is like we can't do anything to it unless we have the Momos.
Like I could imagine there's some way to build mid shadow with your Ektars and with all your stuff, and then you just top off at like three Zeus. And you just get them with it. I could imagine something like that working, but maybe it's just not. Maybe it's just too clunky. It might not be worth the high rolls.
Because you also have to fit a lot of card draw, and we got Soul Conversion is a very big hit to that deck. It did a lot.
Yeah, they lost Howard for. They've been surviving with it though, without it, because they still have Andrea Alphys and they still can use Pure Hearted Singer if they really want to. So I think another class that people are going to be looking towards is probably Rune. I think for one thing, a lot of people I think were expecting a Daria nerf, uh, and that of course didn't happen. So there might be a lot of people who are just thinking, okay, Daria didn't get nerfed. This might be really strong. I think I want to just play Daria.
Yeah, I think it's time. I have never played Daria on the weekends, but I think it's time. I think I'm gonna finally decide to play Daria and lose miserably to by by my own deck. But then again, I got Grandmaster with Daria, and I actually was believing that the more you play the deck, the better you become on mulligan decisions. And that deck is very dependent on mulligan strategies. Like you could argue, like in some games, I have mulligan my entire hand, even though I had conjure golems or arcane knowledge. Yeah, I have a one play point, but like I've had games where I had a good curve, but I don't spell boost anything because I have the good curve spells, but I'm not spell boosting, and that deck really wants to spell boost. So sometimes I have had games where I threw away like very like cycle cards like Insight. I've tried to throw Insight, and the more I was slamming that rush to Grandmaster, I was streaking higher and higher. I got like a 10 win streak, and then a 12 win streak, and I got Grandmasters thanks to that. I was getting stronger.
D Daria has a lot of really interesting mulligan decisions. Like sometimes you're like, do I want to keep this Chimera? Do I want to mulligan away my Chimera? Sometimes like one thing that surprised me, watching Teji play in Monkey of the Week last week is I noticed he mulliganed away his Darias quite a bit, and that's something that like some people don't even think to do. Is even just get rid of your Darias. You usually think all I'm looking for is Daria. Daria is the most important card in my deck.
Yeah, there's also different approaches, especially in the mirror. There are people that think that it's a race to Daria, right? The one that gets to Daria first is the one that's gonna win. I tend to think the contrary. Actually, I think that in that matchup, getting value out of your hand is the most important aspect. Like I see people playing arcane arcane knowledge and then play the golem immediately. Sometimes I hold that and I play a missile because I can combine that golem with my big explosive turn, and that golem can protect my Daria because my Daria opponent cannot kill my Daria with Chimera, and if he evolves something, there's a golem on the way, right? So it's like that matchup is fun to play. I enjoy that matchup. I don't like playing against Daria, but I enjoy playing the mirror. That's probably the only matchup I like to play against Daria.
I enjoy just playing Daria. I think it's a fun deck and it's got like some decisions. I think sometimes some of the games I have with it they're just like laughable whether it was laughable because I just drew way too well or laughable because I just never drew my Daria. But
It's also very mathematical deck. Maximizing the mana efficiency is very cool. Is a thing that I like to do in card games. I can't lie.
yeah, and thinking about can I risk taking a card draw right now? Is it worth taking a chance and drawing into my Ogler or drawing into my Daria or drawing into my Blade Mage that I'm digging for?
Again, that's my stand on it. On I like to get as much value as I can from my hands. I don't like throwing away magic missiles. I don't like throwing. I like to play my Daria as if it's like my last card in hand. Sometimes I play like that. I hold my Daria. Sometimes I hold my Darias for zero play points, and then I play my Blade Mages, my Oglers first, my Chimeras, and then I play the Daria. Sometimes I just do it like that. Against, well, obviously against Dragon and Avon, you can't really. Against Avon, you can do that. I've won games where I played Daria on turn 9 and I still won the game, so it's fine. But against Dragon, yeah, against Dragon you need to go really fast. I think that's the only matchup where you want to go fast, and against aggro decks, aggressive decks, of course.
I like to just I don't know. I play my if I'm in a matchup where I have to take the game long, I'll try to get the most out of my hand. If I'm in a matchup where I think I can just get a good roll and I can kill off of a good roll, I just go for the
Oh
roll.
yeah, obviously. Like my deck had elephants. I had two mammoths, so
Now, I never played the mammoths.
it was
I
good.
played the mammoth back a couple months ago when like the Daria Dimension Shift deck was a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a cool deck.
It was very good because you were getting because when you think about it, it's like people say it's a three play point elephant, but it doesn't feel like a three play point elephant. It feels like a zero play point elephant because you spend 3 mana that turn, but sometimes you have turns where you have nothing to play and you play the elephant, and then it's a zero play point 6/7 when you play the Daria, right? Or when you play the Chimera. Also, Clark. Like I was playing Clark. Clark is again Clark. Wants you to get a lot of value from your hand. Sometimes I had Darias in my hand, like I mentioned, I had Chimeras or Oglers, and I play my Clarks, and my Chimeras become playable before the Daria, or the Oglers become playable before the Daria, so I really like that. Something that I actually also do is that this is an habit that I got from Neutral Haven. When I was playing Neutral Haven, all I wanted to do was play 3 followers at the same time. So I have had games where I held my Oglers. I had zero play point Oglers, and that was the only follower I could play, and I hold them just to play them
I,
with my Daria together with my Daria.
I've had games where I've held a zero play point Ogler for a couple turns, just waiting for the right turn to drop
Yeah,
it.
I like to basically explode, just get like 4 or 5 bodies onto the board. Also, like I copied this list and got to GM with it. I like the addition of Chain of Lightning. It helps a lot. There's some games where you just lack the finishing blow, and I believe that Enchanted Chain Lightning is a better card than Enchanted Sword at that. I think it's a better finisher than Enchanted Sword.
Enchanted Sword can like push some powerful burst turns, like especially like it can make some really degenerate Darias happen, like some because you it's a zero play point spell you can hold on to. But yeah, I think
But like Chain of Lightning helps to finish the game more consistently because Enchanted Sword you need Blade Mages to actually get the damage from Enchanted Sword. I mean, talking about like mid to late game when you want to finish the game. I've won games where I actually played Chain of Lightning into Chain of Lightning, Chain of Lightning, and I won games like that.
I've lost games to that. Like that's Chain of Lightning when I play in like a tournament that's open deck list. One of the first things I look for in a rune deck is how many mutables do they have, how many Chain of Lightnings do they
Yeah,
have, how many Grand Summonings do they have.
it's I hated in Dirt Rune because I like the matchup Vengeance Blood against Dirt Rune. I love that matchup from the Vengeance side. But like Chain of Lightning just gives you cannot grind that deck if they just get the Chain of Lightning. They will kill you.
Yeah, dangerous card. Real spooky card. It's like the one card that like it can just get you, no matter how much you do about it.
I lost to it today. I played against Arya and they had Chain of Lightning into Chain of Lightning again. So I was like, ah, come on. It's a very cheap way to lose to as well because it's like you have no way to interact other than healing.
Yeah, they pass the turn to you, and then you just like look at your hand. You're like, I know I'm dead. There's nothing I can do about it.
So sad, especially in tournaments. It's like so sad. I know he has the elephant. I'm dead.
So, a deck that I think I had mentioned earlier, and I think a good amount of people have like different thoughts on is just Ramp Dragon and just Dragon as a whole. Some people don't think it's particularly good. Some people think it's powerful. My yeah, you want to say
No,
something?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I would expect Dragon. I would not expect people to leave their dragons at home just because I think Dragon is a comfort class for a lot of people. And I think regardless if it's good or regardless if it's not, I think people just like playing it and people like the powerful splashy effects that are in Dragon.
Yeah, there's something human about playing dragon. That's very satisfying. Like not I didn't want to say human. Something very that we humans really enjoy. Something very satisfying of playing like these big followers while you're playing your 3/3s. I'm playing my 9/9s, and you cannot kill them, and they have such big powerful effects like Sakwil, Israfil, Bahamut, Zeus. So people really enjoy playing that deck. There's also some matchups where it's very strong, like we talked about Daria. That's a good matchup. Dirtroom can also have a good matchup against Dirtroom. If you have like sometimes Sybil is just there's no more dance of that. Sometimes Sybil is just very hard to deal with. You have to spend a lot of resources to it. And now that we have Ayala's and like Ayala's are actually good followers that can come earlier to contest the big illusionist. The big illusionist starts. So I like that. I think Dragon will still be played. I expect Dragon to be played a lot. Like, I expect my all my opponents to at least have a Dragon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if Dragon just ends up being one of the more popular classes of the format, just because it does do these big splashy things. And I think one of the big things about Dragon is because it plays all these huge splashy things, it just warps the format around it to some extent because people need answers to these things. And if you think about it, like, all right, so if I'm gonna play against the dragon, what's the best way for me to answer the things that dragon's doing? Well, Bahamut's a pretty good way to answer it. Well, gets to play Bahamut, dragon.
And like Bahamut is considered by a lot of players like the best card of the game, and having access to Bahamut like just a turn, even if it's like a turn earlier, which is like 95% of your games, you will have Bahamut on turn 8 or 9. So having Bahamut a turn earlier is very strong.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like 3 turns early. So I would expect a good amount of dragons.
Actually, yeah, something I want to ask you. Do you think it's going to be tilting, mostly tilting, or PDK? Or do you think they will be represented, or it's just the standard Ramp Dragon?
I would be surprised if it's PDK that ends up being like one of the biggest ones, but I feel like tilting isn't consistent enough to like get all the way to the end. I feel like it just plays too many high end cards that eventually somewhere along the tournament run it'll just break and won't get there. So I would think that that like the Sahak wheel version would be one of the stronger ones. I also think that like there might be a strong Frenzy Drake version.
Yeah, so I was thinking that if you wanna be stronger against Arya, like a version with Frenzy Drake, Conflagration, and Zirnitra is stronger than Saaquiel, but on the other hand, that makes your other matchups slightly weaker. Against Avon, Conflagration is like a bad card. Zirnitra is not. It's not gonna have an impact. And Frenzy Drake, another card that's not as good. Like not having Saaquiel for the Zeus's against Avon or Kennen of the Dragons is gonna have is gonna make you suffer against Avon and Vengeance
Against
Flood.
other dragons too, Conflagration's very poor card.
You have no way to interact with the Canyon of the Dragons, so it's very weak on the mirror. So I was thinking of having a dragon like that just to beat the Daria, but then when you think about it, there's no other strong deck that could beat Daria consistently as dragon. So I don't think that strategy is gonna be worth it for me. Trying to snipe. I like to snipe a deck basically when I build lineups, and I don't think Daria is easy to snipe with a three deck lineup.
In the weeks to pass, the rotation weeks that have already happened, my intention was to snipe dragons, and then even if that's your intention, what I learned was sometimes they just ramp really fast into Bahamut, and you can't really do much about that.
Yeah, Forest. You and I played a lot of Forest, and I was having trouble against Aven and Dragon, which is not normal. I'm like, what is going on? Why is my deck being stomped by Haven and Dragon? Like sometimes the turtles and the tea times, I was like, what's going on? Why is my opponent always having the Snow White and the Cudgel? And I consistently lost board control, and it was very hard to pressure them enough. So my elephants didn't have enough damage to finish the game.
I remember when Wonderland Dreams first came out, like the first week, uh, those exact words was what I was thinking. Like, why are these Havens just out tempoing me with their tea times and their lions? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious what is going to end up performing. I feel like there's just so many different things at this point that it could be. I feel like even something like Dirt Rune is not at all out of the question of being really strong. I feel like just so many decks are powerful right now, and I guess that's why we ended up seeing no nerfs, just because there are so many different things that it could be.
Yeah, we also, speaking of that, we haven't talked about Blood, even though Blood actually made a resurgence in the last week of rotation. Disaster Imari, I believe, was the winner of. That was a long time ago. It was week 2. We had Take Two and Unlimited in between, but he won with Vengeance Blood. I think he was the one that won, and there was a lot of Vengeance Blood in that tournament, which was interesting. Neutral Blood was something that I tried as well. Control Blood we saw was very popular in Unlimited. I don't expect it to be as popular in rotation just because you don't have access to Revelation and Diabolic Drain. Those two cards are so good for that deck.
I think they can survive without Diabolic Train just because they have Blood Drinker's brand, but Revelation is just so hard for them to survive without.
Yeah, like Daria is like back then you could have a Revelation. Well, now you can't really deal with Daria at all.
Yeah, the best thing that they have to deal with a Daria board would be like, what's it called? The Reach of the Archdemon into the Lethal Blade.
No, no.
That's two
And
cards.
the Blood Moon
You need to be
setup,
in Vengeance.
yeah, nah,
It's not happening
no,
very consistently.
no. Reach of the Archdemon is a interesting card.
But
It's not gonna work. I try to make that card work a lot. I even play Psema is another card that I try to make work a lot, but it just doesn't. They don't
I,
work.
I get I guess you could say that you're really reaching if you put that card in your deck. Ah,
I'm gonna tell you
ah,
why they don't work. Is that their mechanic is so clunky. When you look at cards like Belphegor, like Imp, the demon, what's the name? Blood Imp? No, wait,
Spiderweb Imp?
Spiderweb Imp. Thank you. When you look at cards like that, Emeralda, a Big Knuckle Bodyguard, like their effects are strong by themselves, with or without Vengeance, right? So if you're in Vengeance, Emeralda is fantastic, but if you're not in Vengeance, she's still good. She's like a 1 for 2, or she's our removal on the body, which is very good. But like Reach of the Archdemon, it's only good if you are in Vengeance, and I don't. That's why I don't like that. Curse Brand or whatever the name is. It's only good if you are in Vengeance. Psema is only good if you are in Vengeance, and I hate cards like that force me to be in Vengeance to be relevant. Because again, I want to have two game plans. Another example, Airjammer. Airjammer is a beautiful card. I love that card even without Vengeance. I was probably the only, not the only player, but I can bet money on this. I was the player that played the most Airjammers without Vengeance. Like in the story of NG at least. I was slamming that Airjammer. I checked my VODs and Rainy and Exo were talking, oh, he needs this and this and this. I'm like, no, I'm slamming that. It's just so many stats. It's two bodies. It thins your deck. I just love playing Airjammer. So if you are in Vengeance, it's a beautiful card. If you're not, it's still strong. But Sema, Reach of the Archdemon, basically the new Vengeance Blood is just not working for me.
what I think is awkward about those cards is just that you the mana reduction, the play point reduction happens after you cast it and not before you cast it. So if you want to play your Reach of the Archdemon, you have to already be at 6 play points. And then after
Yeah,
you play the
it's
Reach of the Archdemon, it refunds you the
I,
three. And because of that, it's just very inflexible.
it's to me it feels like a worse enhanced mechanic. Like enhance, you can play around it. You still have the normal card, but this card is just like it's worse than enhance in my opinion because it's the opposite of enhance. You have to play it first, and that is just bad in my. I hate that.
It's the Diabolic Drain Revelation mechanic, just much worse than the two of them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, of course, Revelation Diabolic Rain were like too strong, but I'm just saying the mechanic. I'm not mad. It's just they're not being as powerful as Revelation. I didn't expect that at all, but just the mechanic is not good. Like as a card player, I strive for flexibility. My dream is to have a flexible deck. My dream is to have a deck that can be aggro, control, and combo at the same time. That is my dream to have a deck with that flexibility. Of course, it's always a dream. You're not gonna make have it, but this is the opposite of it. You're just forcing yourself to play non-flexible cards like rocks, literally bricks. That is why I don't play Dirt Rune because I don't want to play sigils. I just having a card that's named Sigil. I don't want that. I don't play Dirt Rune because of that.
They're boring cards.
Yeah, they're literally rocks. You cannot do anything with these cards. If you have a hand with sigils, well, now they're a bit better because telescope. I love telescope, but like having rocks is not gonna help you win. Just why I don't like that.
So, are there any classes that we missed talking about that you think that we might see?
Portal. That's the only
Or
one, and Aven. We haven't talked about Aven or Portal.
I want to believe that somewhere there's somebody with some crazy nilpotent entity deck, but I haven't seen it yet.
Zero. This today is Valentine's Day. We talked about this. We fought about it. I don't want to. I want our relationship to not have fights every week. So let's not talk about Neil. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Like Neil Potent though is like against Dragon. I don't know, man. Like Portal feels so weak. I don't know.
I think I'm just bad at like the Dragon versus Portal matchup, but I've been hit by so many massive Sephiras, just like insta killed by
Yeah,
these
because you're
Sephiras.
not pressuring them enough. Like just slam your Bahamut. Even if you're not killing anything, just slam it and watch
I,
them
I
enact.
Then they play acceleration, they clear your Bahamut, like they draw like 12 cards, clear your
Nah,
Bahamut,
nah,
didn't even
nah,
break a
nah,
sweat.
nah, 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 nah. Nah, I need proof. I need a VOD of your stream of that happening. I'm not gonna believe it otherwise. I need proof.
All right. Well, I haven't played against and lost to a Portal in a little bit,
I
but next
wonder
time
why.
I'll show you the VOD next time it happens.
Yeah, but like Aven is also a very strong option against Portal. Like you play Aegis, and they're like, "What am I gonna do now?"
Oh, Heavenly Knight and like the Heavenly Knight
Oh
deck is
yeah,
something that I'm curious about. I think there's something there and some interesting tech. This is something that I thought of, but I never put it into action, and that I've seen people over the past couple of days actually trying out, which I find is really interesting. Which is it's there's a 6 drop in Haven that when it dies, it puts a Summit Temple into your hand, and people are playing that
it's Kathleen, I think.
with
No,
yeah, they're playing that with Aether, and I find that a neat way to get the Summit Temples into your
without
deck.
spending a card for it. Yeah. No, I like that. We talked about this last week. I don't know if you remember. Having cards that give you amulets, right? We talk about imagine Blood Moon. If Blood Moon had an effect like that, if you had a follower that gives you a Blood Moon, that makes your control deck that much stronger because you don't need to spend a slot on that card. But yeah, that card, I I've actually played that card before playing the Summit Temples. People were playing 3 Summit Temples. I was like, nah, I don't want because Aven is very. You don't have a lot of flexibility on building Aven because you need your cudgels, you need your ethers, you need your like you mentioned, Heavenly Knights. So it's not flexible. You need your Snow Whites, your removal spells, your draw spells. Like when you build an Haven deck, like most of the times I build an Haven deck, and when I realize I have like 32 cards out of 40, and I'm like, oh, whoops, I don't have a lot of cards now.
I I find like when I build my Haven decks, there are so many cards that I want to put in them, and what I have found that works for me, and I have been told I'm a fool for this, is I just cut like probably more of the draw than I should, and I just put more of the greedy cards in the deck.
Yeah, who needs to draw cards when all your top decks are just bombs? I like that.
Exactly.
Exactly. There's one problem. What if your initial hand is all bombs?
Oh, that sucks to be you, man. You got a Ramp Dragon hand. Ramp Dragon hand with no oracles.
Yeah, you were talking about. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but the Sack wheel, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh yeah, like I love the Saha Quill package in Aegis Haven. I think that's awesome. No, people don't expect the Zeus out of it. People don't. They're just not prepared.
Mhm.
The Zeus will like stop a Aegis for a turn in the mirror.
I definitely think that if you're playing an Aegis, a focused Aegis list, we're not talking about Summit Temple now, I assume, right? You're not playing Temple with the Sa package, or are you?
I had a list that was playing the Saha package. It was playing it was playing everything, dude. It was playing like literally everything.
Nice.
The Saha package, it had the Heavenly Knights, it had Aether into the 6 drop to get
The Summit Temple.
the yeah, the Summit Temples. Oh, it was so greedy. It was great.
Yeah, because Heavenly Knight feels very strong with Summit Temple. It's an insane card. And because I was saying, if you were playing a focused Aegis list, I forgot what I was gonna say. Whoops. But if you're playing a focused Aegis list, yeah, if you're playing a focused Aegis list, I think you definitely want to play a Bahamut because it's your Themis replacement or a Grimnir, one of the two. Because you need something to open space. Because your Aegis needs to go phase. If you're spending time trading with your opponent with your Aegis, like eventually your opponent's gonna have his win condition. He's gonna have his Aisha or his Elephant, right? So you need to clear space to go face.
Clear space to go face. You heard it here first. Want to get personal is asking in chat. Would a two play point follower that the effect is banish any amulet so that also this follower can't attack face and is a 0/1. Okay, so this is a two play point 0/1 with fanfare banish an amulet. He's
It's
asking, would that see play?
no, it's too linear.
Two,
You don't want to play linear cards.
you took the exact words right out of my
Oh,
mouth. It's too
sorry,
linear.
sorry.
Yeah, it's very limited in what it can do. Like there only certain decks play amulets, and they're not even always good amulets. Like, cool, I banished a fire sprite grove. That's not great. It doesn't feel that great.
Yeah, it's also like 0/1 attack. It's literally a dead card in 80% of the games because you're not gonna even if your opponent is playing an amulet deck. Even though like a lot of decks have amulets nowadays, but it they're not gonna draw it and play it, and sometimes you're just gonna have a -1 card in your hand.
If it said if you don't banish an amulet, you may draw a card instead. Then I think something like that might see play.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a cycler. Even though like 2 mana for a cycler is quite expensive. If it had ward, okay, we're putting a lot of stuff into it now, but actually,
If it had ward, then it's a really strong card, I think. If it
since
cycles and has ward,
Wanna Get Personal mentioned this is making a custom card. If you guys have suggestions or want to make your own custom cards, Mr. Cezero can hook you up with a way to do it and actually share it with us so we can discuss it in the podcast.
yeah, in our server, in the HSK server, which I'm getting a link to right now, there is a place called Custom Cards SV where we like people to post their custom cards. So if you guys have any of those, definitely go here
It,
and post them.
just real quick, if you have forest cards, I'm gonna talk about them because I like forest a lot.
Oh yeah, my favorite thing to do is I will just take broken Magic the Gathering cards and try to make a Forest Craft version of it. One of my favorite pastimes. Today I made one of the most busted cards I could have possibly made, which is Glimpse of Nature.
I've seen
Uh,
that. I liked it.
Glim Glimpse of Nature is a one mana card. It costs one green in Magic the Gathering, and its effect is for the rest of this turn, every time you play a creature, draw a card.
Seal of approval.
So this one, of course, is a Forest Craft one play point spell with um draw a single card for every follower you played this turn. So one mana, draw five or more. There's nothing wrong with this card. It is perfectly fine.
Actually, let me. Okay, so for the rest of the podcast, let me. I'm hook up this card. I'm put it on the stream so you guys can check it out because I think it's beautiful. I think it was your best. It was a masterpiece. Honestly, though, I'd love to see a card like this.
Oh, it's broken. It's so strong, but like I'd be so happy
You
if it
know
was
what's
real.
strong? It doesn't. When you read it, it doesn't look that strong, but because it's very flexible, right? It's always gonna work because you have fairies. Even if you draw one, it's like a one play point draw one. It's very good. It's so flexible. Opposite
I
to the one that we talked about before.
I wanna. I don't know if the card is up on the screen yet, but I wanna
Post it.
have that card be in the same format with like fairy wisps, where you play your fairy wisp, bounce your fairy wisp, replay your fairy wisps, get all these fairy wisps, and then you just draw like 11 cards.
There we go. So if you guys have any crazy ideas, and if they're forests, just show us. Just show it to us. By the way, how do you make that? So go ahead.
So on the channel there is a pinned message. It is the only pinned message on the channel, and it just takes you, it gives you a link to a website where you can design your own cards. It's pretty simple to use.
And you mentioned
Def
Magic the Gathering. Was this based on a Magic the Gathering card? Because I want to
oh yeah,
Google it.
that's actually the art of a Magic the Gathering card. It's called Glimpse of Nature. It's
Oh,
actually
okay. I see. Thanks.
yeah. So it's very similar card.
Oh yeah,
It
I
is
see.
one of like the corner piece of like Legacy Commonwealths. But
Wow, it's also one mana. That is very powerful, actually.
yeah, this is it
Cause
allows for like
especially because
some
okay,
crazy
so
turn three
I don't
lethals.
know if people know in chat, but just so imagine you have fairies that produce mana, right? Because that's basically green creatures in Magic. There's a lot of green creatures that produce mana, so you're actually not paying mana to draw cards. I assume, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, that's actually a mechanic that doesn't exist in Forest that I think would be kind of interesting, like the mana elf type effect,
That
where
would
instead of
be
like tapping it, like maybe at the beginning of your turn, if it survived till then, you get a mana point for the turn.
that would be an interesting way to ramp, give ramp to Forest. Uh, also, there's a lot of recover Evo points, but some classes just don't get that love, and it's interesting. Will we see every class have a recover Evo point?
I think Haven is a class that doesn't get that at all. That to me would make sense, like to some extent, like flavorfully, and at least like with what the class is doing, because I feel like it's more of a control class. I feel like it wouldn't mind being able to recover evos.
What I would be interested in is actually an aggressive card that recovers Evo points. Um, because sometimes Evo points for the aggressive decks are just extra damage, right? Instead of printing all these cheap, sorry for the term, but I can't find any other term, some cheap burn spells instead of that, we had actually followers that give you extra damage by getting an extra Evo. Maybe instead of just giving you an Evo point, just make the follower you can only evolve that specific follower, or make it a creature type. Just I don't know, make it a goblin. You know how in Magic goblins are forced to attack? Just make it a
Hmm.
creature that is forced to attack, and you can evolve that creature, that type of creature.
I I think it would be cool if there were spells that you could evolve. Like a card
Oh,
that one of the first things that I think of like as far as a spell that I just wish you could evolve is like Nova Flare. If you look at that card, like imagine if on the draw you could just spend like I spend a play point, my Noble Flare does 4 damage instead of 2 damage. It becomes a completely legitimate board wipe and a good way to pull you back on board. But evolving a spell would be interesting. I don't even know how you would like go about putting that into the game.
yeah, I was thinking about that, but yeah, that would be something cool. I've also asked for a legendary spell, not a token spell. I know there's legendary spells. There's Thornburst. There's the
Mer-
Bath of Kadba spell.
yeah, Merigna's Gospel.
Yeah, Morigna's Gospel. Thank you.
I lost that card today.
Yeah, but I'd like to see a legendary spell. Just the normal spell you could put in your deck.
That would be neat. I would like to see Thornburst just as a card. I wouldn't want to spend 3,500 vials on it though.
Anyways, is there any more questions?
I don't think so. Is there any questions in chat?
I see Japanese characters. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know Japanese. Dude, I wish I knew Japanese. Cause there's so many like a lot of nice people, but I can't communicate effectively with them.
Yeah, there's lots of
Let me
people to talk
translate
to.
that.
Well, I would craft
Oh, it says
Thornburst
good
says I.
morning. Oh, Ohio, Sigma 312. Hello. Good morning to you, sir.
All right. So I think we talked about everything we wanted to hit today as far as rotation goes. Um, I think we're in for an interesting week this weekend. I don't really know what to expect. I think there's lots of different things that could end up being some of the better decks this weekend, and I'm just curious to see what's gonna happen.
I hope for the first or second place. That is, I believe that if I don't have first place, I'm sorry, but I will have to I'll be out of NGE for the first time, and I'm curious to see how that will affect my play this weekend. If I'm gonna be stronger or weaker this weekend.
Now I heard from a little Aka at one point saying that if he doesn't get into NGE this season, you're going all in next season, and you're gonna just is that true?
Yes, I hate losing because not losing, but when you lose and you know that you could have done more to avoid it and you haven't done it, I don't like that. I know Jay Z is also has that personality. That's why we connected very well when we met each other because we are very alike in that sense. Me and him, we didn't prepare a lot last year, and we were having success. But as soon as we fail, like we were playing on the World Grand Prix, and we lost the first rounds, and we came to the sofa, and we are like, the first thing we did was pick up the lists and like start taking notes and going really deep and really try hard. So I know that if he doesn't make it, he's also gonna be very active with the game. It still is active, but I think we will be even more try harding. Because again, this is like a marathon, right? This is not. This is the focus is the World Grand Prix. This is just a preparation for it. You don't qualify to World Grand Prix. At least I don't think you do, but I wish they would tell us how the heck do you qualify to World Grand Prix, because if they now tell us, oh, it's based on the Shadowverse opens that happened before actually telling us, that would be sad.
It's interesting. Like I wanna just play in all the opens, and hopefully I can do well enough to get myself to the World Grand Prix. Some lofty goals.
No, but you gotta start somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, my goal is to at least get a first place, even if I don't qualify. At least getting the chance of making a top one on the qualifier because there's a flare as well. I really enjoy the flares. I like having a flare.
Hmm. All right, guys. Well, I think we hit all the stuff we wanted to talk about today. Definitely gonna see y'all next week.
And any shout outs you wanna give?
Oh, any shout outs I want to give? Shout out to the New York City thingy that we're doing this weekend. If you guys want to play, definitely contact me if you want to play in some good old New York
Can
Shadowverse. Compete over a nice prize.
Oh,
Actually,
I was gonna
hold
ask you.
on.
Can I talk about the prize? Can you show us the
Yeah,
prize?
I can show us
Oh, that's
actually.
so
This
beautiful,
is
dude.
this is the reveal. This is the reveal.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell you to a
hold
chat.
on.
I wish I could. Okay, I have the means to go to New York. I just don't have the time because I have a job. But I wish I could go to New York just to get that prize.
No, I don't want to give this up. Like I'm not looking forward to giving this to whoever wins this, just because I
It's
want it so bad.
so cool, dude. Look at that. I
Is
love like uh I asked Psy Games would we get
oh
actually
wait, let me,
asked them if we got flares for the World Grand Prix because those small things is what you really care about when you look at it. Because okay, money is nice and comfortable, but like money gets spent. But these trophies and like rings, like flares, like trophies, you'll get them for life. You're never gonna lose them. So it's so cool, man.
yeah, I just love how this thing looks. I think it's so pretty. It feels so nice to look at the HSK logo and see it on a piece of glass like that.
Yeah.
Just everything about it's satisfying. I love it.
So, anyways, like if you want to play for it, it's gonna be a LAN event. There's not a lot of LAN events for Shadowverse, so this is an opportunity. If you live in America and you're not very far from New York, just take your chances at it. It's very cool. I wish I could.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested, contact me, HSK Saro in our Discord, and I will definitely work with you to get you to the event. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you
Any
guys.
shout outs for you, Aka?
No. Watch Shadowverse open. Come support us. Our boys and on HSK. This is probably the last shot for a lot of us, except Tenchi. Maybe is the most well positioned for it. So come support us, and we'll be thankful for it, and we will always give the advice, the best advice we think, and yeah, come hang with us. We have a cool community in our Discord, and thank you for watching us.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye
See you
bye.
next week. Bye.
Peace.